What a weird week.
Hi, everybody, it's Weird.
This is like crazy being here.
Weird.
Really weird tales.
Bigfoot eats out of my trash.
Well, I got a great joke for you today with some wonderful weird stuff.
Hi, friends. I'm Scott, and this is What a Weird Week, a look at the odd, interesting, strange, fun, and weird stories that made the news this week. Not the serious ones, but the weird ones. 10 stories in 15 minutes, and I would say also great conversation starters, right? To amaze your friends and family, perhaps your colleagues. If you want to get all the show notes, we leave them at the website shownotes.page. Everything about our podcast as well, shownotes.page. Here we go. Our episode first published March 20th, 2026.
Number 10.
Number 10 is the scientists at the University of Edinburgh. They made a bacteria that converts plastic waste into a type of medicine used for treating Parkinson's disease. I gotta say, this is one of the greatest good news stories I've ever heard. Like in 7 seasons of doing this show, in a world where we have terrible news all the time, they've made a bacteria that will get rid of our plastic garbage and turn it into medicine that will help a lot of people. How is this not on the front page of everything? All front pages. This is an all front pager. If you want to read more, we'll put the link in the show notes. Right now, it's just a lab thing. Like they can do it in the lab and they're working on making it into, like a wide production thing to help a lot of people.
Number 9.
Number 9 is churning butter while running, which is a thing. And perhaps you knew this. This is something that I believe is a trend on TikTok. I would not have seen it, though, because I am not physically fit. But maybe if you're a runner, you've seen that people are churning butter while running. It was a bit of a mystery to me why it came across my algorithm. But then I realized, of course, butter. I enjoy delicious butter. So the algorithm found me. And this has been making headlines. Runners will put heavy cream and salt in a sealed bag in their hydration vest. And then when you run 5 to 6 miles, you end up with delicious, fresh, churned butter at the end of your run. I mean, what a way to end a workout with a big old bag of butter, delicious butter. Tuck in and enjoy. You worked hard for that butter. I hope that dairy companies hear this and sponsor races where people churn butter. Maybe next Olympics, they could have the 10,000 meter butter dash. Just brainstorming here.
Number 8.
Number 8 is a robot uprising story. Woman hospitalized after startling encounter with robot. She is out for an evening stroll. Just imagine, you're minding your own beeswax, out for a stroll, and this robot came up behind her. It didn't make contact with her, but just the appearing behind her part was alarming enough to cause a brief hospitalization for what I would call being freaked out by a robot. I'm not a medical professional. That is not an official diagnosis. So this happened in Macau, China. I'm not good at pronouncing things. This particular part of China has the nickname the Las Vegas of Asia. They have a big gaming industry. I didn't know any of this before this story. The robot was owned by a company, was being tested by a company. It's like a promotional thing. So imagine you're walking around downtown and there's this robot and it gets your attention and then it tells you to buy a product or go to a business. That, I think, is the gist. That's kind of the idea of the promotional robot. But it, has potential to freak a person out. If you're not prepared for a world where robots are walking around and you see something like that, that would freak my bean. I guess in conclusion, I will just say this. I'm pretty sure we're all on the same page. The robot uprising is coming. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow, but probably next week.
Number 7.
Number 7 is about Blub the goldfish who set a world record. There's an engineer in the Netherlands who built a fishmobile for his pet goldfish Blub. And how this works is Blub is in the fish tank, and the fish tank is in a fishmobile. And whenever Blub swims, the technology, so fantastic, the car moves. The fishmobile moves as Blub swims. Recently, Blub made headlines for driving 40 feet in 1 minute. That is a Guinness World Record for driving goldfish. For a driving goldfish to go 40 feet in 1 minute, that is quite substantial. It's pretty great to see. It'll make you smile. Click the show notes. Go to shownotes.page if you want to see what the whole setup looks like, if you want to get a glimpse of Blub. If you don't have time to click, I will say, Blub looks like a goldfish. if you picture a goldfish in your brain, you're probably pretty close to what blub looks like. I'm not sure if we're headed towards a future where you order a limo or a taxi or a car service and a fish shows up to pick you up, but definitely something there for the makers of Zootopia 3.
Number 6.
Number 6, it's official. Last year's Cheeto-Zard has set a world record. In case you missed it, there's this flaming hot Cheeto that looks like a Pokemon. We featured it last year on this show, and then also we featured it last week because we did a repeat because I was on March break. Then, by some wonderful coincidence, Cheeto-Zard was back in the headlines this week. The Guinness Book folks have made it official. The Cheeto-Zard being auctioned off for $87,000 and something is the highest price paid for a video game likeness corn snack. That's the official world record. Highest price paid for a video game likeness corn snack. And just for background, in case you missed it, the Pokemon-shaped Cheeto discovered and preserved by a sports memorabilia company. This is, a few years ago. Photos of the thing go viral, and last year it sold for that world record amount. And I was dubious that it really was a natural Cheeto. I thought somebody 3D printed it almost or something. It's almost a perfect representation of Charizard in Cheeto form. I don't know Pokemon and all that, and maybe I mispronounced all of the things, but if you want to see a photo, you can click the show notes or go to shownotes.page.
Number 5.
Number 5 is what they did in Dublin, Ohio on St. Patrick's Day. They tried for a Guinness World Record by gathering over 1,050 people to form the shape of a giant shamrock. Kind of ingenious how they did it. It was after their St. Patrick's Day parade, so they were like, hey, everybody, did you enjoy the parade? Let's keep the festivities going. And they formed a giant shamrock. If confirmed, it will be a new world record. It just has to be made official by the Guinness World Record folks. The old record was 800 and some people, set in Dublin, Ireland. It's a shamrock shakeup, y'all.
Number 4.
Number 4 is a publicity stunt, or perhaps it is just a product that is getting a lot of publicity, but no stunt involved. This is about the Twizzlers straws. If you're unfamiliar, our show goes out over the www, so maybe they don't have Twizzlers where you are, but it's like a licorice stick. I think Red Vines is another very popular brand at some places. So you have Twizzlers, licorice, in straw form. So it's like you use the Twizzlers as a straw, and then you can eat the straw when you're done drinking. I remember doing this as a kid. I think it was maybe even frowned on at the time. But now we're saving the environment, drinking through Twizzler straws. Well, they came out with a new limited edition flavor inspired by dirty soda, which is still something I don't quite understand. Dirty soda is like soda and cream. I think that's what you do, right? You start with soda or pop and you add some cream and some other flavors in there, and then that is your dirty soda. Well, now that's the flavor of this Twizzlers straw.
Number 3.
Number 3, the headline I'm going to say is "The future is now." Maybe in post you can put some echo on that. The future is now. German researchers have successfully revived brain activity in flash-frozen mice brains. I'm oversimplifying it, and I'm not very smart, but essentially they were able to bring back the mouse brain from frozen state and get it to a place where it could learn and remember. I'm sure you're aware that there are some people who have had parts of themselves cryonically frozen, waiting for this day when technology would catch up and science would catch up and they could be unfrozen. Well, we're not quite there yet. This is early stages in the laboratory, to be continued. The future is almost now.
Number 2.
This one is good news if you enjoy coffee or tea. A 43-year study of over 130-some thousand people found that moderate daily intake of caffeinated coffee or tea is associated with reduced risk of dementia and slower cognitive decline. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there used to be a time where you would read a study about coffee and it was always bad news. Coffee makes your butt fall off or things like that. Maybe that's not one. There's been a lot of studies on coffee, and lately it's been some good news. And this one includes tea. I sort of just did the top line info there, but if you want to do a deep dive into that study, you can click shownotes.page. Honorable mention. This one you probably saw or heard about, the Australian brush-tail possum that was discovered hiding amongst the stuffed animals at a gift shop in the airport in Tasmania. Somebody noticed all these stuffed animals, right? And then somebody noticed the eyes were moving on one of the things. One of the cuter stuffed animals had high-tech moving eyes. And it wasn't a stuffed animal. It was an actual animal. And that is kind of the story. If you want to see photos, click shownotes.page. The possum was rescued before anyone could, purchase it.
Number 1.
Our number 1 story this week is a Guinness World Record about thumb push-ups. A fellow who performed 66 thumb push-ups in a minute. So more than one thumb push-up a second on one leg. And a thumb push-up isn't like thumb wrestling or something. It's not like just the thumbs are moving. You're doing push-ups supported by your thumbs, and in this case, with one leg raised. 66 in a minute. So at first I was like, well, how hard can a thumb push-up be? It turns out pretty hard. So I would caution, maybe do not try until you consult with your physician and personal trainer. If you want to read more of the story or see what a thumb push-up looks like in action, you can click shownotes.page. That's a wrap on this week's What a Weird Week show. Thanks for listening. You can check out all the show notes on our show notes page at shownotes.page. We'll catch you next week with 10 more weird stories from the news on What a Weird Week. If you listen this long, we're going to play a song that we had for St. Patrick's Day. Sometimes we post videos and songs on the What a Weird Week social media. This one for St. Patrick's Day was about the leprechaun who is also a sheriff. In the tiny town of Shillelaghville, every day is St. Patrick's Day. And when bad guys start acting up, Sheriff Leprechaun is on the way. Leprechaun Sheriff, Sheriff Leprechaun, he rides a tiny horse. Leprechaun Sheriff, Sheriff Leprechaun, he'll take you down by force. If you rob a leprechaun bank or start a leprechaun war, Sheriff Leprechaun will bring the hurt, you're going down for sure. Leprechaun Sheriff, Sheriff Leprechaun, his handcuffs fit tiny wrists. Leprechaun Sheriff, Sheriff Leprechaun, his shillelagh is really just a taser. Leprechaun Sheriff,